This is Sarah.
This is Jenna. We're from Name 3 Songs, and today we're getting candid with Masterpiece.
Hi, we're back, and you're listening to Getting Candid with Name 3 Songs. And this past week was the VMAs, which is my personal Super Bowl as a girl who loves music and pop culture. And for those of you in England who might not know what the VMAs are, it's MTV's Video Music Awards, because music videos still matter. You're gonna have to rip those from my cold dead hands. But it's just like, it's a night of pop culture. It's a night of who's who. It's just funny because like these are fan voted awards, and like Taylor Swift takes these more seriously than like almost the Grammys, I think, which is like so funny of her.
Well, I will say also, just for context, the VMAs historically have always been like crazy stuff happens. Like Lady Gaga meat dress, like Miley Cyrus twerking. So whenever they come around, it's always interesting to see like what goes down. And like the past few years have been like a little dull. And I think this year, like last year and this year, people were finally starting to step it up.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like anything goes, because it's like not as serious as the Grammys. It's a little silly, goofy. People can just have fun with it.
Yeah, and I think like the whole idea of MTV has always been kind of like stepping outside the box, like doing things
being
your
edgy,
own way, whatever.
Being
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, literally. But Chappell Roan, this was the first time she was ever nominated for an award, which is crazy. Like,
well, she virtually didn't exist to the public last year.
I know, but just so crazy. It's like that thing where it's like she's been working so hard for so long, and then she just got famous so fast. Like, and it's that much like, oh, I mean, she's talked about before about how jarring it is, but she was on the red carpet, literally dressed like Joan of Arc. She was wearing a 300-year-old robe, and she had like,
was she actually?
Yeah, people dressed like knights come out and lay out a medieval rug that she said was 600 years old. So she she went all out. She had like a sword. She had like her knights with her on the red carpet, and then like
she shot an arrow, and then the castle went ablaze.
Yeah, like her performance was crazy. And I think it was really cool because like the internet was speculating about her doing Hot to Go and like doing like a cheerleading routine and all of this. And so I thought it was really cool that she kind of went this route of doing Good Luck Babe and like making it be this like women's empowerment, like Joan of Arc kind of moment. Yeah. Her performance outfit, she was in like full chainmail. Like full body chainmail, like it was crazy. For those like My Chemical Romance fans, like Gerard Way did the like dress like Joan of Arc once to do a performance, and I was seeing like on Twitter like comparison photos between the two of them, which I thought was like funny and cute. But she just killed it, and I'm just like, okay, girl, you can cancel tour dates forever if you're gonna be making big jaw-dropping statement performances like this. Yeah, she had some like dates in Europe, like Paris and Amsterdam, that she had to cancel to prepare for the VMAs. But like, I mean, this is such like a big career moment for her.
And she also won Best New Artist, and she was actually, the chainmail dress she was in was insane. Like, that was really cool. But she went up on stage and she gave a big shout out to queer kids, especially queer kids in the Midwest, because she's one of those herself. And she always is really great about speaking up about trans rights and rights for LGBTQ people. And it's very obvious, like from her speech and just like from the red carpet stuff she did, she is very much just a girl. Like, she is very much not trying to be a famous person. She just wants her art to be viewed at scale, but like Chappell herself like doesn't actually want to be a famous person. And so when she comes on stage, she's very much just like a girl from the Midwest raising her voice and speaking for other kids from the Midwest.
Yeah. And I mean, she's like talked about it before too, about how like the fact that like Chappell Roan is like a character that she steps into. And so I think that is all very interesting.
If you want to hear more about this, you can hear us talk about this on our podcast, Name 3 Songs, where we talk about music and pop culture and discuss their impacts on society in our daily lives.
So to continue on in fangirl nonsense about the VMAs, Sabrina Carpenter came, she saw, she conquered. Okay, so like the night itself was just like full of like throwbacks to like VMAs of yore, and like a lot of people were on the red carpet like dressed in past looks that other stars had done for the VMAs. And Sabrina herself on the red carpet was wearing a dress that Madonna wore to the VMAs like years and years ago, but her performance what, so like the VMAs, like they give you like a moon person like as the award, so it's very like moon themed and space themed, whatever. But Sabrina Carpenter's performance, she did like a mashup sort of thing. In Oops, I Did It Again, there's like a weird break in the song where in the music video, but this also just exists in the song, in the music video it like clips out to like a man giving Britney the necklace from the Titanic. I don't know why this happened, but it's like, oh, like literally it's like, yeah, babe, I went down and got it for you. Like it's this whole thing, and you could hear that being like piped in at the start of Sabrina Carpenter's performance, which was like so funny to me personally.
One thing she's gonna do, she's gonna say all men are simps for me.
Literally. Because then like all of her dancers were like dudes dressed like spacemen and one singular female alien, which like it was crazy. It was insane.
So she's in part of the mashup. She did Taste, which is about Shawn Mendes getting back together with Camila Cabello, basically being like, if he's kissing you, you're gonna taste me. And so it was like the astronaut and the alien started like hooking up on stage, which was really funny. And then she shoves the astronaut on stage and like fake makes out with the alien girl, which I also thought was funny because anyone who pays attention to pop culture knows Sabrina Carpenter is the most straight pop star to ever exist. But the whole thing was just very clever. And then again, it continues to like mash up into different songs of hers, which I really liked because like I feel like just performing a singular song is like, she has so many hits, like it's fun to play with it. But it ended like a big dance number with like a bunch of the astronauts, and at the very end they like all come together and they're kind of like lifting her up, and it's just like her in this sea of like astronaut helmets, and then all the guys like lift their helmet up and it's just like their faces, and then it was like, I don't know, it was just very cool how it was done visually.
Yeah, there's like a photo / like still of that moment, and it just is like, hang that in the Louvre, like it was just like, it was very cool.
I would say Sabrina stays slaying. Sabrina, she is a performer through and through. She was meant to be on that stage. Like she just commands the stage. It's crazy, like her star power. So if you want to hear more about that, we do talk about this on our podcast, Name 3 Songs, which you can find on your favorite podcasting platform. And now we're getting candid with Masterpiece. This is the artist moniker of Peace Okezie, who's based in London, and he makes electroclash music for dancing for the girls specifically. We'll get more into this. But this has been a really big year for Peace because he released his debut album. He won an award for Ivor Novello's Rising Star. He's collaborated with Santigold and Wale and like a ton of really big artists. He's supported the Streets, Genesis Owusu. He has an EP coming out this October, and he's doing a headlining tour across the UK and Europe.
And so we're getting candid with Masterpiece about so many things, but specifically about how he like accidentally brought indie sleaze to the UK before indie sleaze even like really was a thing. And that was like really fun to talk with him about. And also how like he's been like fighting these boxes that people have been trying to put him in and just wants to like live his life from like joy. And honestly, in listening to the conversation, you'll just be like, oh yeah, this is the most joyful man ever.
His joy is so infectious.
It's like, so infectious. It's crazy. As he says, he's just a silly boy.
He says so many times. He just wants you to know he's a silly boy.
He just wants you to know that. And yeah, so with all of that, let's go get candid with Peace.
Hello, Peace. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's great.
We're excited to be chatting with you today. Kicking things off, you released your debut album, How to Make a Masterpiece, earlier this year, and you're about to follow it up with another EP. In the past, you said that on previous EPs, you felt like you kind of played it safe in terms of your sound, and that with this album, you really wanted to push the boundaries of what you were doing. So in what ways do you feel like you were able to really challenge yourself with this album?
I think in London, at the time when I was kind of writing this album, everybody kind of saw indie music as like just straight guitar music.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that kind of wound me up a little bit because I was like, I listened to like a lot of like electroclash. That was like the music I listened to and stuff, but like that was kind of like indie music too. So like you see how like Block Party and like could get like guitar music and electronic music and merge it together and make it like a song, or like Digitalism could get again guitar and like electronics and merge them together. And I felt like nobody had kind of done that. So it was a thing for me where I was just like, okay, cool, if I'm going to try something new, I might as well kind of head in that direction. But at the time, nobody was really kind of seeing what it was. Then I wasn't really aware to the fact that there was like a new name for that type of music, which was called indie sleaze. But at the time, I didn't know. So obviously I'm making this music and loads of people are telling, like when I was making the album, loads of people were like, oh, like this is like indie sleaze kind of thing. I was like, sick. I was like, but I'm thinking electroclash. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's in my head. I'm thinking that, and everybody else is like calling it this thing. So I was like, all right, cool. But this is prior to like everything that is obviously happened in recent times. So this is like far back. Like this is like 2022, 2023. Yeah. So I got into write my debut album at the beginning of 2023. And yeah, we just made all these tunes. And then I was just like, in my head, I was like, I got to push the boat out. Like indie music isn't just only guitars. I wanted to have like the electronic feel and the dancey feel and like just where like people can move, you know?
Yeah.
I remember sitting down with my producer, Julian, and he's produced like and written for that new Sabrina Carpenter album. He wrote a lot of that and stuff. And like I remember sitting down with him and he was like, do you know what your problem is? And I was like, what? And he was like, you need to get the girls to dance. Like, because you're making music. Do you know what I mean? And he was like, you're making music for the guys, which is cool. But it's like, you need the girls to dance too. And if you can get the guys and the girls dancing and merge it together, you know what I mean?
This is the whole mission of our lives. This is
exactly.
Sarah could write a thesis with you on this.
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. So like, obviously when he said that, I didn't understand it. It didn't really make sense to me. But I'd already made a song on the album that was like a dancey indie early 2000 type song. And then I played it for him and he was like, that's what I mean. As in like, get them to dance. This is what I mean in the sense of that. And that just changed my whole mindset. It's like, it was like a flip in my head to kind of push that boundary and push it out.
I love that so much. That's like why I loved Block Party when I was a teenager, because I was like, this is like the perfect merge of like what I loved about pop music and what I loved about rock music. And I was like, oh, this is so fun. I could like have a party here.
Yeah.
But like, that's so interesting. You saying that you were thinking of it as like electronic clash or whatever, electroclash. What are you saying?
Yeah, electroclash.
Yeah, electroclash, and then like this indie sleaze thing, because it is like a new idea of something that was old and we've like repurposed it, because like in that era, like we just called them hipsters. And now it's like, and now we've like made them seem cool because they're like, oh, like they're all just like club rats and like cool and like know what's happening. And I'm like, no, but
it's like remembered nostalgia. It's like specific, like we've chosen what to remember about it.
Yeah, it's selective nostalgia for sure.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels that way. But it was like not even on a like blow my own trumpet thing, but I was like quite ahead.
Yeah.
Like not even in that way where you're like, oh, do you know, like,
no, like why is the Dare not calling you up for a feature? It's my question.
You know what is so mad? You know what's so mad, right? You know what's so mad? I remember being in the studio with this producer called Zach Fogarty, and he was like, what music are you liking at the moment? And this was like 2022. And I remember him being like, yeah, like what music are you into? And I said, oh, like I'm kind of liking the stuff that I'm making, but I'm not really checking for anyone. He said, do you know who you should work with? And I was like, who? And he was like, I'm gonna play this kid. His name's called The Dare. So I'm thinking, so at the time, my brain is all like, I thought I was the only person in UK anyway that kind of knew this thing. But this is like 2022. Yeah. So girls have come out and it's not even on like, it was like probably like on 100K at the time. And I remember just being like, wow, this is actually really good. And then reaching out and being like, yo, this song is mental. And this was like 2022 times.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, thank you so much. And like, we were talking about getting together and collaborating and whatnot. And then it was just one of those ones where just timings and schedules just didn't really match.
Yeah.
But it's just so mad now that it's like, Girls is quite popular now. But it was like, when I heard that song, I remember going into my label and be like, guys, you need to sign this. Like, I was just like, guys, sign this act. Like, because I honestly thought he was on the money. Like, I thought he was on the money at that time.
Same.
And, do you get what I mean? Like, I thought he was on the money, like, 100%.
It's interesting. 100%. It's interesting because, like, England is so, like, there's such a specific music culture there, and there's so much, like, diversity of, like, music and sounds that are, like, also just have become, you know, such a part of, like, the greater music and pop culture, like specifically coming out of England, but it's also can be such a bubble sometimes. So it's interesting you were saying like none of the indie bands in England at the time were really doing this like electroclash sound. What is your experience like? Do you feel like England can be a bubble in that way?
Yeah, I think it's a bit whack over here. Just in terms of kind of like, it's like I got more love in the States than I got back home. Do you get what I mean? I got more love in Europe than I got in London. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there was a bit of a thing where I was just like, I've kind of made this thing and I'm like sitting there being like, this thing is like really like on the money with what I thought about.
Yeah.
And then I feel like people only kind of start to respect it is when I won this award in the UK that is like quite prestigious for the album. I think that's when people start to be like, okay, cool, like maybe like let me give this album a listen and take it in. But like people over here again, it's like they're quicker to take in the dare than they would take me in, even though I'm from the same soil. Do you get what I mean? Like we're from the same soil, we're same pocket. But that's just how the cookie crumbles. It's just like that's just how it is. Like people are more quick to kind of like support someone that they don't really know particular, or like from America. It's always been like UK people would want to cat the swag from America, and then like America will kind of like once they tap in, they'll tap in like a little bit, but they won't tap in fully. Whereas like it kind of took Brat personally to come out for people to go and find other albums that were similar in the similar vein, for them to kind of like take in my thing, which is like big up Charlie, because it's like now when people are mentioning the indie sleaze thing, they're mentioning me or the Dare or whoever it is. Do you get what I'm saying? But it was like, if I don't feel like if Charlie never dropped Brat, I still think it would have gone under the radar. I would have I feel like people wouldn't have clocked it, which is mad.
Yeah. That's crazy. But I don't know, like my experience, this is kind of mean to the country of England, but my experience in England was kind of like, if you didn't look like what they expect you to look like when you're doing a certain thing, then like they're not going to give you the time of day. So like, it's not shocking that like America would be more like, oh, okay, this music is good. Like we're going to accept that. And also like Europe as well. Whereas, you know, everything that's going on in England right now, I kind of feel like that makes unfortunately sense, but it's still like, that's still not chill. And it's crazy that like something big, like massive has to come out in order for other artists who've been doing like, well, not necessarily longer, but like have been doing like that sound or have been focusing on that sound and like honing it in, like don't get their flowers until like a later date or like don't get the attention.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting too, because like Jenna and I both have always like really liked music that has come out of England. And like sometimes there are bands that just like don't hit over here. And sometimes there are artists who come over here and they're like so much bigger than they are in England. And it's just really interesting seeing like who resonates and who doesn't, because it's like Jenna and I both like this band Don Broco, who's like huge in England, and here like it just hasn't caught on. And it's really interesting like seeing the difference of like that experience. And so like when you first came over to America, and like what was that like for you?
It was kind of mad. Like I remember linking up with one of the members of Paris, Texas, and Paris, Texas like are popping in America at the moment. And I remember talking to the one of the rappers in the group. He named called Felix, and he was like so gassed when he saw me, because he was like, "Oh my god, it's like your masterpiece and whatever, and etc. etc. etc." And I was like, "That's so mad." It's because you're bigger than me on paper. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, not in like London, a big artist wouldn't kind of like do that. Like that just wouldn't happen. Whereas over there, it doesn't matter how big you are. It's just love. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it just felt like quite genuine. And I just noticed it. It was just something I noticed that I was just like, that's so interesting. That it's like, I can get love other places. It's like, I can do tickets in like Europe and America. Yeah. But then in London, I can still, like in UK, I can do tickets, but it's like, I'm still like seen as like, you know, like a dark horse. When it's like, when they've got like, you know, they're obvious like go-to people. But then it's like, I'm like the guy that's just kind of like, okay, cool, he's doing his own thing. But it's just like, loads of people are starting to clock on, which has kind of helped things move along quicker. I would say. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. I saw, so you did like a series of festivals this summer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the stages looked pretty insane. I mean, I guess the dance music thing is working out, because the stages looked pretty crazy for you.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I only got booked for 2 festivals in UK, But then in Europe, I got booked for like 18 festivals.
Oh, wow.
Do you get what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
But do you know what I mean? It's like, whereas now, let's just say one of my songs pop off in Europe, UK gonna be like, oh no, we've been kind of like backing this from the beginning. But it's like, do you know what I mean? Like when you deep it, it's like, it's like I see people that are booked for these festivals in UK that can't even sell like 200 tickets. That are like booked on like proper like main stage, but then it's like I'm doing like nearly 2,000 tickets in my city, and obviously like regionally doing tickets, but I won't get booked for a UK festival, which is mental.
Crazy.
When you do them, like it's just mad. Like, but then in Europe, I was like I was going to like places like Germany, and they're going crazy. Like it's like Michael Jackson just walked on stage. You know what I mean? When it's like really and truly like. It's like it's just me, but they're like singing lyric word for word, and I'm like, this is mental to me because it's like I feel love back home, but it's not in terms of like, you know how the industry has like their kind of like people that they see. I don't have that type of love. Do you know what I mean? That it's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Which is quite jokes. Like people see my shows and they're like, oh, is that in London? I'm like, no, that's in like Poland or like this place or like that place. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's so interesting just like thinking about who is really like connecting with your music. Cause like you've said in past interviews that it's like important for you to like write kind of like timeless songs that can connect to people, and that I mean like your songs touch on everything from like race to class to mental health, and like you draw on your own life experiences, which I think is like very clear when you listen to it, but also still very relatable. But what I thought was interesting was there was an interview and you said that like you could have easily gone down this like angry political route, but instead you were like, oh, I want to like lead from like a place of happiness and about freedom. And so I'm curious for you, like how you were able to kind of like reach that space where you're like, okay, like I want to lead my life like through happiness and freedom, and like think of that mindset instead of like I could be angry, but I'm not going to be.
I just feel like the world is already dark. Like it's just dark. Like everything that happens in this world is just dark, and like I'm just trying to have a good time. Like so I'm making music that like I want to have a good time too. You get me? Like I'm not trying to just be on this like preachy like, and I'm not, no shade on people that are like that, but just not my bag. Like I have ADHD, like I'm quite like sporadic and silly, and like I don't really care about a lot. So like for me, I'm very like I can't fake it. I can't be like, oh yeah, let me just be this preachy guy and be like, you know what I mean? I just think people like, well, life's too short. Like we could all just get collapsed tomorrow. Like we might as well have a good time over here.
I love how you're like, so the world is doom and gloom, so there's no point in me living in the doom and gloom because that'll do nothing for me. Like
it's not doing anything for me. Like I'm just there just seeing negative. Yeah. I'm just like, boy, like can we get some drinks going and like let's party, man. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
I know obviously like it's different strokes for different folks. Like I think everybody has their own like life be lifing for everyone. Yeah. You get me? It's like someone's obviously going through something harder than I'm going through or whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I went for a breakup, but for me, the way my head is when going for a breakup is like, okay, cool, we're not together, it is what it is, cool. And I can kind of like, do you know what I mean? Get my brain around it.
Everyone needs relationship advice from you.
Yeah, straight. But it's just like, they're your ex for a reason. Do you know what I mean? Like I recently went through a breakup. There are levels. Like I recently went through a breakup, and I was with this person for like nearly 5 years, and like I could either sit down and be like, oh my god, like she's gone, but it's just like you just gotta charge it to the game. Like just charge it.
I feel so attacked right now.
No.
This is great. Keep going.
No, but you just gotta charge it. Like at the end of the day, like you gotta remember that you're lit. Like everybody's lit. You're lit. Like everyone's lit. And like, and also you gotta just deep. This is just like you bring something to the table that someone else might not bring. So it's just like I carry my mentality is just like I back myself. Like so I have to kind of my music needs to be the good vibes. I can't be like, oh my god, you broke my heart. Like it's like no, bro. Like what up? Like be good.
That's so healthy. That's so good.
Yeah, man. It's gotta be like that.
But like I'm curious, like when you like started making music and like started getting interest from like labels and people who wanted to work with you, like when you would go in those rooms, were they kind of like oh, like, we expect you to be XYZ because, like, we see where you've come from, we see all this stuff about you, and you're like, stop trying to put me in a box? Or, like, did you not have to experience that because your music already was, like, clear in your vision?
Yeah, I think they did. Originally.
Yeah.
But I just, like, don't care enough. So I was just like,
yeah, okay.
That's not happening. Like, I'm just, like, gonna do what I'm gonna do. Do you get me?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna kind of conform to anything. Like, there was loads of things because, again, being a black artist, like, they will be like, oh yeah, go and, like, rap and do this with this person, or go and do this with that person, or, like, and I'll just be like, no, like, I don't want to do that. Like, I grew up on Paramore, and, like,
yes.
do you know what I mean? Like I want to make, but I also grew up on rap too. But, like, it doesn't necessarily mean I want to make it. Like, do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's, like, I just want to, like, I like my vibe. Like, the Veronicas Untouched is, like, one of my favorite songs.
Yes.
Like, a lot of people won't know. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, taste. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, but
so much is making sense now.
Yeah, like, I like what I like, innit? So, like, my friends are, like, from the hood, like, they're hood guys. But, like, my music, they are just like, oh yeah, like, fair enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're doing your thing. So you can't,
it's like respect, because, like, you're clearly doing something that you love so much and is, like, what you want to be doing. It's like, how can you hate anyone for that, you know?
Exactly. So
yeah. Well, okay, I think this is hilarious talking to you because your personality is so vivacious. It's just like very obvious, like listening to your music and, like, seeing the world that you've created, like, through the visuals and through, like, the music videos and everything, and then, like, talking to you, it's clearly just like your music is just like an amplification of, like, who you are already, which is amazing to see. And so for you, I'm sure this is, like, not just, like, a therapeutic thing of, like, expressing yourself through art, but I feel like for you, maybe it also gives you this sense of, like, freedom and possibility of, like, the world is your oyster.
Yeah. I feel like me and my people, like, we really got it from the mud. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I kind of, like, I read comments where people are like, oh, it's so good to see, like, a black artist making this type of music because it makes me not feel alone, or, like, it makes me feel like I can do this. It's like having a superhero. Like, I look at, like, artists like Blood Orange as, like, my superhero. Like, he was in, like, Testicles, then he was, like, Lightspeed Champion, then he was Blood Orange. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that, like, that was mad inspiring growing up. Like, looking at him and being like, oh my God, I want to be like you. I want to be you. Do you know what I mean? And I think for me, I want to inspire people that are, like young and need some sort of, like, just a bit of a push to go through, because it's not easy to cut through, but once you're kind of in the door, everything after that is just like a bonus. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't like, if someone told me how far I've got so far, if someone told myself, like, I want to be the person that I needed, because I probably wouldn't have believed that. Do you get what I mean? Because of how things go. But yeah, there's still, like, a way to go, but, like, I'm, like, in a place where I'm like, people are seeing it and it's catching influence and etc. So
listening to you talk about this is so cool, and I just, like, love this thing where you're saying before, like, oh, I just, like, want to be, like, myself, because I think also, like, a lot of the songs on this album are about friendship and, like, how important your friends are to you, which I think is really cool. And I think also, like, in that way of you being like, oh, like, why focus on, like, being depressed about a breakup, instead you can, like, celebrate friendship, which I think again is, like, I'm very big on platonic love. I'm like, I love this is perfect. And I really thought your song Lodge was really cool, and how it focused on, like, that thought of, while some friends may not have, like, a lot or much to their name, they can have, like, a lot of heart, and they'll always be there for you and just be like, what's mine is yours, what's yours is mine, kind of thing. And, like,
100%.
I think that that's something that a lot of people can relate to, but, like, I'm really curious to you, like, why it was so important to, like, hit on these topics specifically in your songs, because, again, like, this weirdly, like, isn't something that you can find in a lot of music.
Yeah, I just think, like, even with the album being called How to Make a Masterpiece, it wasn't me trying to be like, oh, look at me, I've made a masterpiece of an album, even though the album is a rocket. Absolutely amazing. But the reason
I mean, I agree,
but the reason why I thought about these topics is because, like, even, like, Lodge, for example, Lodge is actually my friend. That's my best friend. I've known him since we were, like, 1 year old.
Okay, cool.
And, like, that's like my brother, you know, like we got up to all sorts of mischief together, like, you know, had our first girlfriends, and do you know what I mean? I've come round his house when I've been excluded from school, and my mum's like, come back home, and I'm like, no, I'm at Lodge's house. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, we beat, like, that's like my twin, and I needed to show that in a song, to be like, yo, like, we all have that one friend that is like, no matter what, like, doesn't matter about money, doesn't matter about status, whatever. It's like, they see you for you. You get me? And like, Lodge is like that's my person that sees me for me. Yeah. Do you get what I mean? And I feel like I wanted to kind of like give people a soundtrack to your early 20s.
Yeah.
I think, and like, you're like just leaving teenage, because like for me, I kind of like started my 20s during COVID.
Yeah.
And like, a lot of it, like, it was hard to kind of navigate. Like, and there was a lot of stuff I didn't really kind of understand or see. Like, I got into my first grown-up relationship around that time. Like, there was so many things that my brain hadn't really comprehended, and I didn't have any music to kind of help me get through that. Probably like Clairo's first album, Immunity, was like the album I got. Like, that was like my breakout album. Like, that got me through like some hard times. But do you know what I mean? I didn't really have that thing. Yeah. So I'm like, I wanted to make a record where like you have that thing that's like, there's the highs of the record, and then there's the lows of like, oh my God, I'm like in the gutter, but we're going to get out of here. And then like, just to round it all up is like, yeah, life might be good, my life might be bad, but it's like, we've got each other, like, we're all in this.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah. I think, well, it's also like there's so many things in life to love and celebrate, and there's so many albums about falling in love and breaking up, and it's like, what are we? Are we here just to fall in love and break up? Like, there must be something else.
I feel like you gotta kind of push the boat out a little bit. I don't think that like love is obviously like a personal thing, and it's a serious thing, no matter how way you feel it. But I feel like with the album, even me talking about my situation, I was making love songs without people even realizing I was making love songs. Do you get what I mean? I was saying certain things. And then there were certain songs like Los Narcos, the first record on the album, I'm talking about some real serious shit, note stuff that, for example, like I wrote about how me coming into the music industry, coming from the place I came from. Yeah. Like, I'm saying some really wild stuff. I'm saying that I hated my friends because they wanted me dead. And I'm like metaphorically, when you first start something, so for example, like you guys have your radio show and whatever, and I have my music career and whatnot. When you first start it, the friends that you need to support you and kind of push you forward to kind of like help you do that thing ain't really there. But then when it starts to kind of kick off and work, that's when they're like more open to kind of push you and help. Yeah. And my friends didn't expect this thing to work, like, as in like this genre, this vibe. I remember a lot of my friends discouraged me. They were like, "Oh wow, I don't think you should make indie music." Do you know what I mean? Like, I think you should just like try like the underground trap thing that everybody's doing. Right. And I said, no, like, I'm gonna stay what's true to me, and I'm gonna complete this.
Yeah, and then my album so ended up of your friends.
Yeah, do you get what I mean? But that's why I said it on the song. It's like when they hear the song and I'm like hating my friends because they wanted me dead, they're just like, whoa, like you actually did like it. I'm like, yeah. Like, yeah. Like, I fully sent for you on the track. Like, but those are my friends. Do you get what I'm saying? So you're showing that like you're only human. Like, I wanted to say it in the song to be like, yo, like, I love you. You guys are my bros, but I hate you because you tried to stop this thing from happening, and now it's happening. All of you guys are like, oh my God, now you're happy to claim me as your best mate. But at the time, do you know what I mean? So that's why I wrote that bit. Like, I wrote that on part. Like, I made sure they hear that. Like, do you know what I mean? And we kind of laugh about it now, but at the time, I just remember starting out and just feeling like, mate, nobody's really here for me. Like, I'm just here on my own, like pushing this thing on my own, and no one, until like I'll get a cosign, or like I'll sell out my show, or like whatever, like something would happen that they think is like, like that they would think is cool enough to kind of like promote or support. And I used to just be like, nah, like, it used to just wind me up. So I was like, the best way I can get out is by dissing them on the track, but still keep that like love. So
exactly.
So
kill them with kindness.
And I feel like we got to normalize hating our friends. Like, I feel like it's okay to hate your friend. Like, they can still be a homie and you hate them. Like, like type me. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. But also, it's like, I don't know, like starting something, especially like an artistic endeavor, without the support of the people who have like supported you like your whole life is crazy. Like I can't even like it's just so insane. And I feel like sometimes I like complain to Jenna because I'm like, I feel like nobody respects me.
Yeah, like it used to wind me up. But then I learned not to take things personal. And then I remember I got a feature with one of their favorite artists, whatever. And everybody was like, "Oh my god, like they rate you." And I was just like, "What?" So like it took this guy to rate me for you to then be like
now
your
you
own
respect
friend.
me. Yeah.
Do you get me? And I was just nah, man, like that's like sneaky. So like on the first track, I was like, just in case I don't get through the whole album, I'm gonna let them know. And then he was listening.
That is iconic. Iconic. Oh my god.
Straight up.
Oh wow.
Oh my god.
Okay, respect.
That's what I wanted. Yeah, straight.
Damn.
Straight.
Okay. So I'm really curious, what drives you to make music? Like for some people, they're truly like, music is my therapy, and like it just happens to have this output that like other people can enjoy. But like for you, like what drives you to make music?
I feel like I'm just a music nerd. Like if I wasn't a musician, I'd probably do like journalism, but to do music, or like I'll be an A&R or like a music manager. I just like, you see those people that like really like are so geeky about a certain thing, and like they can tell you everything from like you know what I mean? Like let's just say if it was like maths, they could tell you the equation, and you know, that's how I see music. And it's not like a thing where I've always wanted to be a musician. Like if anything, I thought being a musician was like quite sad. Like I used to get like, I was like, I don't know how girls don't get the ick. Like imagine like you're with your boyfriend and he's just like,
we do.
Do you get what I mean? Like imagine your boyfriend is just like, oh yeah, we got to pay our bills, and it's like, yeah, I'm a musician, like just gonna drop my songs on SoundCloud. It's like, what do you mean, bro? Like what do you mean? But that was like literally my approach on music. Like people like, oh, you should do music. I was like, absolutely not. Like I was embarrassed to like even say I was a musician for time. Do you know what I mean?
Wait,
like
so
people
how
like,
did we get here?
Yeah, how did you get here?
It's just that when things started to pop off, then I owned it. I was like, yeah, I am a musician.
So you were dropping it on SoundCloud and just being quiet about it.
Yeah.
And then once it started getting traction, you like owned it. Okay.
You're like, my girlfriend had no idea.
You're moving quietly.
Yeah, 100%. I remember when I was dating my ex at the time. And I remember when we first started dating, she was like, oh, what do you do? And I was just trying to avoid telling her that I make music. Like, I was just like, oh my God. Like, see, like, I would get the ick. I'm sorry. If we're really trying to like do life, and like my girl or my guy comes to me and he's like, yo, like, yeah, I'm a musician. Like, it's like, oh yeah, okay, cool. So like, when's your next show? I was like, yeah, I don't have any, but like, it's just like, bro, like, how can you own that? I don't know. I just couldn't own it. I found it really hard to own it at the time, and then I finally got over that like fear. But what really kind of got me into it, I'll probably say, is like me just being a geek about it. I was just in love with music. Like from every artist I used to listen to, I used to just like rinse it and like just bore people to death about like music things that they didn't care about. But I was just so keen to talk about it because I cared about it.
Were you always like an expressive person? Like, did you do other art forms, or did you just kind of like fell into like doing this?
Well, I got kicked out of school, so like I wasn't really like good with academics. I liked drama, but then drama, like I was like, being an actor is just long. Do you know what I mean? Like that's long. Yeah, I'm lazy except from like making music. That's where I'm not lazy. Like I really try and like care about it, but I'm a lazy guy. Like so for me in my head, I was just like, oh, doing acting is long. Like so I was like, I want to be
so funny.
You know what I mean? So I was like, I might as well be a musician. Like I think that's quick. Well, it felt quick at the time. Little did I know.
Yeah. So we were talking about like this music feels very representative of like who you are as a person, and you have this like kind of name for an artist name, essentially. Some artists that we've talked to feel like they have like an artist persona that they step into, either like a character, like, you know, it can be like a mindset when you're going into writing, or it could be kind of like a stage persona where you feel like you're stepping into something that's larger than life, like when you're on stage. Do you feel like you have a persona?
No, I don't feel like I got a persona. but like I love Matty from the 1975, and I used to just I studied every dance move, I was sitting by my computer watching their Vivo 2015
Oh my God.
video of like the first and second record, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm in love with this man. But it was just like I was so obsessed. You know what I mean? I was just very obsessed with like the 1975, like when I was a kid. So then, because of that, I feel like Matt Healy when I'm on stage.
Yeah.
I can't even believe I've said this, but yeah. I feel like
in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. Not in a controversial way. In a good way. In a good way, yeah. In a good way. I feel like Matty, yeah. I feel like he's just a great performer. Like, aside the controversialness, I think he's just a great performer.
Yeah.
I think he's actually really good. So.
Well, I think also, like, I don't know. I imagine for a lot of artists, it's like tapping into a certain like headspace or like mindset when you go into the studio versus like when you're going into like going on stage, because like obviously I feel like on stage for a lot of people needs to be kind of like this amplified energy or like amplified version of yourself. And so it like makes sense to have like role models of like, I really liked what they did and kind of wanting to mimic also almost, or like kind of step into that type of energy and bring it on stage.
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. I felt like I always loved performing, but I was like, my music is kind of under the category of pop. So I was like, I wanted to see how pop stars perform their songs. I think for me, and just to kind of understand when is it good to like talk and when is it good to like not say anything and just like dance and move, and just those little moves, just picking up little things just to kind of like excite the audience and get them like keep them at high energy at all times. So I feel like Matty, big up Matt Healy from the 75. yeah.
I love that so much. Everything you're saying is really interesting because like I'm curious if you ever feel kind of like exhausted that you're putting your true self like out there to everybody all of the time. Like if it is kind of like this thing where you're like, oh my God, like they just know me and I don't like, do you have like anything where you feel like, okay, like this is just for me, or do you feel like your whole life is just like out there for people to consume?
It's a bit like long, if I'll be honest. Like it's quite long. Like it's just like people know stuff about me that like I didn't even think they would know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, that's the price you pay when you want to be in a public eye. Like, of course, duh. But then in another breath, I'm like, I'm a bit of a neek. Like, I just like to like stay at home and play video games and like, do you know what I mean? I'm not really like this like I'm silly and joking, whatever. But like even like my real humor. I get scared to kind of even like let my real humor like flow and like fly because I'm just like quite silly with it. So it's like it's annoying because it's like I feel like I'm giving everyone myself, but I feel like there's a part of me that I feel like if I actually revealed that part, I think people would it would go either way.
Not to turn this into a therapy session, but you've mentioned twice being afraid of people perceiving you too much in regards to like you making music and like your true like sense of humor and self. Like, do you feel like being able to like write music allows you to like fully be true to yourself without getting the ick about your own self?
No, most definitely. Like the things I say in my songs, I'm like, oh my God, I would never say that out loud. Like, as in like, but I can say it in a song and people are like, did he really say that? You know? And I'm like, yeah, I did. But do you get what I mean? It's like I said, like my song Lose Song, for example, on the album, is like really outlandish. Like, do you get what I'm saying? And I'm saying some really crazy stuff. But I would never say as Peace in the public eye. No, I wouldn't say that. But like on a tune, I'm a talk and like say what I've got to say. Do you know what I mean?
How does that feel for you to like be able to like do that? Because I can't songwrite to save my life, but there are some things where I'm like, wow, I wish that I had a way to like publicly say the stuff that I'm thinking, but I would never.
Like I feel like it's quite fun. It's quite fun. I think that's the cool bit about music. It's like even right now, like we're writing my second album and there's like a song and I'm just saying some wild stuff and I'm just like, yeah, great, get out. Like, you know what I mean? This is good. So yeah.
What do you want to be remembered for as an artist?
Banter, mate. just got all the bands, like just like having jokes. Like I'm quite silly. Like I don't take myself too seriously. So like I'd probably want to be remembered for like just being silly and not caring too much, and also like it's never that deep. Like like
it's
at the end of the day,
music.
like it's just music, bro. Like it's just music, you know. So yeah,
we're just on this planet. Yeah,
we're just on this planet vibing, man. Do you know what I mean? That's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as a final wrap-up question, we like to ask everybody the same thing, because the ethos of Name 3 Songs as a podcast and radio show is to empower fangirls, because we think it's really important to celebrate the things that you love unapologetically. So, Peace, what are you a fangirl of?
Brat.
Yes.
What else am I a fangirl of?
It can be non-music too.
It can be non-music. I love Misfits as a UK TV show.
Oh my god, I love that show.
Yeah,
I love that show so much.
I watch that all the time. And then I'd probably say Matt Healy. Yeah. I think he's a legend. I think he's great. Sue me, absolutely sue me. But I think he's great. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this has been a wonderful conversation. It's been so great getting to know you. Thank you so much for joining us, Peace.
Thank you, appreciate it.
That was such a joyful and interesting conversation. And I love going into something not really knowing like where the conversation's gonna go, and letting the artist kind of guide us in the direction that they want to take it, and like learning from him his process and like how he feels about his music and his relationship with the people in his life and their relationship with his music. And it was just all so interesting to hear about.
I just think that someone like Peace was put on this earth to share his joy with other people, and to share like art with other people. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like he probably would have just fell into this by accident if he hadn't really tried, which is kind of how his story started. But he's been doing this for a while and working at it for a while, and it's like now he's kind of starting to get some buzz about him. But I think he's just one of those people who's like, no, this is what I love, this is what I want to do, I don't care what anyone says about me, I will be doing it. And now people are like, wait, actually I love this, actually I want to support you. And so I think it's one of those kind of underdog stories of the music industry, and trying to put people in boxes that let people be, just let people do what they love, you know.
100%.
But I think there's so much exciting things ahead for him.
Oh, definitely. I'm so glad that he didn't ick himself out by being a musician. Too bad that that he allowed himself to get to this point, because man, like him just being like, oh yeah, like I could not tell people I make music, that's disgusting. It's so funny because he's just like, he really is so talented, and I feel like the stuff that he is singing about is like so relatable and not something that like you come across that often in music, and just so necessary. And I'm so excited to see where the next couple of years take him in his music career.
So thanks for getting candid with us at Masterpiece. This has been Sarah and Jenna from Name 3 Songs.
To get your pop culture fix, you can listen to new episodes of Name 3 Songs podcast on your favorite podcast platform.